All right, so today we are diving into India's hotel industry.
Okay.
And you've given me some really fascinating sources to look at.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of different financial reports and even a YouTube video from an Indian mutual fund company.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and what's really caught my eye is, with all the kind of global economic uncertainty going on,
Right.
the prediction is that India's hotel industry is going to experience really, really significant growth.
Oh, wow.
So I guess that's what I'm hoping we can look into is,
Yeah.
why is that? What's going on there?
It's definitely not the usual suspect.
Yeah.
When we think about hotels, we often think about business travelers.
Right.
But while it's still important, it's definitely things are changing.
Yeah, the reports show a pretty big shift.
Uh-huh.
Back in 2008, almost half of India's hotel demand, came from business travelers.
Yeah.
Now it's only 31%.
Wow.
What happened?
Well, I think economic cycles always have an impact, right?
Yeah.
When businesses cut back, travel budgets are often the first to go. Right.
But I think there's also something else at play here, too.
Right.
It's the rise of virtual meetings and remote work.
Yeah.
And, it's just so much easier for companies to connect now without having that face-to-face interaction.
So if business travel isn't driving things, what is?
Well, the reports really point to leisure travelers taking the lead now.
Okay.
They make up 36% of demand.
Wow, 46%.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you wonder, who are these leisure travelers?
So India is seeing this huge surge in their upper middle class.
Oh, interesting.
And what that means is that more families have more disposable income, and they're looking for those vacation experiences, and they're willing to spend a little bit more, especially on luxury.
I noticed that their reports also mentioned, sales of luxury residences in India have also jumped.
Oh, wow.
Is that connected, do you think?
It could be.
Are people looking for more staycation type of experiences?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. And this actually ties into another trend that we're seeing, which is the rise of domestic tourism.
Oh.
Indians are exploring their own country way more than before.
Yeah, the reports had some numbers on that.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Domestic tourism per capita has been climbing for decades.
Right.
Back in 1991, it was only 0.1.
Wow.
By 2019, it was up to 1.7.
That's huge.
It's huge. But what's even more interesting is that there's still so much room for growth.
Yeah. Exactly. And when you consider that India's GDP per capita is projected to grow at 9 to 10% annually.
Wow.
It paints a really compelling picture.
Yeah.
Imagine how many more people will have the means to travel and enjoy these accommodations.
And that makes the information from that mutual fund video we have even more interesting.
Yeah.
Because they were really highlighting companies like Chalet Hotels,
Okay.
Lemon Tree Hotels, Juniper Hotels,
Yeah.
as really well positioned to benefit from all this growth.
Uh-huh.
It makes you wonder, though, are these established chains the only players in the game? Not at all. In fact, there's kind of a misconception that these branded hotel chains dominate the market. But back in 2018, a surprising 72% of hotel rooms in India were actually alternative accommodations.
Alternative accommodations.
Yeah.
What does that include?
So think about guest houses, Airbnbs,
Wow.
that sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
a very diverse landscape.
Okay.
And within this landscape, we're actually seeing the rise of domestic hotel brands.
Oh, interesting.
Particularly in the mid-scale and economy segment.
So not just the big luxury chains.
Not just the big luxury chains, no.
Why are these domestic brands gaining traction, do you think?
Well, they're really catering to a growing segment of travelers who want that quality and comfort.
Yeah.
But without the premium prices of the international chains,
Right.
they really understand those local preferences and provide good value.
It's fascinating how the reports show kind of these different strategies at play.
Yeah.
Global brands kind of go big with their hotels, whereas domestic brands seem to be more focused on a smaller scale,
Yeah.
maybe creating more of a personalized experience.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the type of hotel either. It's about location.
Right.
The action isn't limited to the big cities anymore.
It's not just Mumbai or Delhi.
The reports even show a decline in the share of branded hotel rooms in the top 8 cities.
Really?
What's happening outside those major hubs?
We're seeing a surge in hotel development in what they call Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities.
Okay.
And there's less competition in those areas and a huge potential for growth.
That makes sense. Those kind of hidden gem vacation spots are becoming more accessible,
Exactly.
more attractive for travelers.
Uh-huh.
It seems like there's a lot of potential here, but is it all hype?
That's a great question.
I mean,
It's important to look beyond just the excitement and see if there's real substance to this predicted growth.
let's dig into that in part 2 of this deep dive.
So you want to know if this whole hotel boom in India is all hype?
Yeah.
Or is there like actual substance behind it?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, the financial reports that you gave me actually have some interesting insights.
Yeah, see, that's where I kind of get lost.
Okay.
I see these terms like EBITDA and asset-light models,
Right.
but I need help understanding, like, what does that mean
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
for the future of this industry?
Yeah, so let's try to break it down a little bit.
Okay.
So EBITDA,
Go.
earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization,
Right.
is essentially just a way to measure a company's profitability.
Yeah.
And the reports are projecting some really strong growth in both revenue and EBITDA for the Indian hotel industry.
So that's more money coming in,
Yeah.
more profit being made.
More profit, yeah.
But what's driving that positive outlook?
Well, a few things stand out to me.
Okay.
One, occupancy rates are high.
Okay, so the hotels are full.
Hotels are full.
Consistently.
Yeah, and room rates are on the rise.
Okay.
Especially in this post-pandemic world.
Right. People are eager to travel again.
Yeah, they want to get out.
And they're willing to pay more normally.
Yeah.
But are there any risks
Yeah, I mean,
on the horizon?
the global economy
Yeah, it's not looking so great.
is facing some headwinds.
Yeah, and wouldn't this surge in hotel development lead to, like, oversupply?
Yeah.
Like, too many rooms, not enough guests?
Yeah, those are valid concerns.
Okay.
And the reports do acknowledge those potential headwinds, like that global economic uncertainty and the possibility of oversupply in certain segments.
Okay.
However, there are also some reasons to be optimistic.
Okay, what are those?
Well, for one thing, Indian hotel companies have been strategically reducing their debt
Okay.
and shifting towards asset-light model.
Asset-light models, I've heard that term.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, so it's a pretty big shift in the industry.
Okay.
Instead of owning every single hotel property, companies are kind of focusing more on managing and operating them.
Okay.
So they're partnering with property owners and taking on less of that real estate risk.
So it's a more agile approach.
Exactly. It allows for faster expansion and requires less upfront capital.
Gotcha.
And this whole asset-light model is actually highlighted in that mutual fund video that you shared.
Okay.
And they see it as a really key indicator of the industry's long-term growth potential.
So it's not just about adding more hotels.
Right.
It's about doing business differently.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But beyond these operational shifts,
Yeah.
are there other factors
There are.
contributing to this positive outlook?
Yeah, for instance, the MyC segment is making a really strong comeback.
MyC segment. I don't
Yeah.
know what that is.
Yeah, so MyC stands for Meetings, Incentives, Conferences, and Exhibitions.
Okay.
So think corporate retreats,
Okay.
industry conventions,
Okay.
even those really elaborate Indian weddings that we've all heard about.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just about leisure travelers.
Right.
Businesses are also driving demand.
Absolutely. And those MICE events often bring in a lot of revenue for hotels,
Okay.
not just from the room bookings,
Yeah.
but also from catering, venue rentals, and other services.
So it's a smart way for hotels to diversify their income
Exactly.
beyond just those overnight stays.
Yeah.
What about international tourism?
Yeah.
Has that recovered to pre-pandemic levels?
It's getting there.
Okay.
Foreign tourist arrivals haven't quite bounced back fully, but the earnings from those international travelers have actually surpassed pre-pandemic highs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though there are fewer international tourists,
Yeah.
they're spending more
They're spending more.
during their trips.
Yes.
That's interesting.
It is. And I
That's the
think it kind of speaks to the changing perception of India as a travel destination. It's no longer just about budget travel.
Yeah.
There's a growing demand for those luxury experiences.
And speaking of changing demographics,
Yeah.
one of the reports mentioned something about global capability centers, or GCCs.
GCCs.
How did those fit into all of this?
Yeah, so GCCs are essentially international companies
Okay.
that are setting up these specialized service and operations centers in India,
Well,
and they're attracting all these skilled professionals,
uh-huh.
many of whom need accommodations.
Right, especially if they're relocating
Exactly.
from other parts of India or abroad.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like an indirect boost
It is.
to the hotel industry.
Yeah, more GCCs mean more people need places to stay,
Right, more demand
which translates into higher demand. Yeah.
for hotels.
Yeah, and the reports project that The number of GCCs in India is going to rise substantially in the coming years, along with their employee base.
So this is good news for business hotels.
This is especially good news for business hotels.
So we've got this really interesting convergence of factors here.
Yes.
You know, domestic tourism is booming.
Yeah.
The MIC segment's reviving. International travel is recovering.
Yes.
And this whole rise of GCCs is just adding to the demand.
Adding to the demand.
It paints a very dynamic picture of the industry.
It does.
But it also seems like there's this shift happening beyond just the financial numbers.
I think you're right.
You know?
Yeah, the Indian hotel market is evolving in some really exciting ways.
Yeah.
And one of the most notable trends is the emergence of these new segments within the industry.
Let's explore that further.
Yeah.
What are these new segments and how are they changing the landscape? So we were just talking about the evolution of like India's hotel market and the rise of these new segments.
Right.
You know what really caught my eye is this move beyond like the traditional luxury offerings.
It is interesting.
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing a ton of growth in the mid-scale and economy segments.
Okay.
Which is driven by a lot of those domestic brands that we were talking about before.
Right.
That are catering to a more budget-conscious traveler.
It makes me think about other industries where we've seen this kind of shift. Like the airline industry, you know, the emergence of those low-cost carriers really opened up air travel to a whole new group of people.
Right.
Is something similar happening in the hotel space?
I think absolutely.
Okay.
These domestic brands, they really understand the needs and preferences of those Indian travelers. They're offering that quality and comfort, but without the really high price tags.
Yeah.
And it seems to be really resonating with a large portion of the market.
The reports also highlighted a shift in geographic focus, moving away from those major cities like Mumbai and Delhi.
Right.
What's driving that expansion into like the tier 2 and tier 3 cities?
Well, I think for travelers, it's really the allure of like discovering those less explored destinations.
Right, like those hidden gems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for hotel developers, it's about tapping into those new markets where there's less competition and a lot of potential for growth.
So it seems like a win-win.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah.
Travelers get to explore these new places.
Yeah.
And then these smaller cities get the economic boost.
Exactly.
And the increase in tourism. What about the role of technology in all this?
Yeah.
The mutual fund video we were talking about earlier mentioned that hotels are like really embracing digital tools.
Oh, yeah.
Is that just a trend? Or is it really fundamentally changing the industry?
I think it's definitely more than a trend.
Okay.
Technology is transforming every aspect of that hospitality experience.
Yeah.
From how guests book their stays to how hotels manage their operations.
We see this in other industries too, like how online platforms have changed retail or streaming services have changed how we watch movies. Is it having that same impact on hospitality?
Absolutely. We're seeing hotels use technology to personalize that guest experience, streamline the whole check-in, check-out process, offer more tailored recommendations, and you can even control room functions from your mobile app now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not just about efficiency for the hotel.
Right.
It's also about creating that seamless experience for the guest.
Exactly. And even behind the scenes.
Okay.
Hotels are using data analytics and AI to optimize their pricing, manage their inventory, and even predict demand patterns.
So they know what to expect.
Yeah, and that whole data-driven approach is attracting a lot of investors who see that this is an industry that's embracing the future.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive
into
India's hotel industry.
Yeah.
We've covered so much.
I know, right?
From the changing demographics and the rise of domestic tourism to the emergence of all these new hotel segments.
Right.
And how technology is transforming everything.
Yeah, what stands out to me is the resilience and adaptability of this industry, despite all the global uncertainty that's out there.
Yeah.
India's hotel market is poised for some serious growth.
It really is a powerful reminder.
It is.
That even when things are tough,
there
are still opportunities.
There are.
For those who are willing to innovate and adapt.
You know, if I could leave our listener with one final thought, it would be to keep an eye on these evolving trends, see how these new brands are catering to those changing preferences, see how technology is reshaping the guest experience, and how the industry is strategically expanding.
This deep dive has given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
And for our listeners out there, I would say If you're intrigued by the potential of India's hotel industry, now is the time to explore further.
Yeah, go check it out.
Maybe even book that staycation you've been dreaming of.